It's a woman on here who's talked about how, your homegirl can be predatory and set you up to kind of be your pimp. And I'd like to expand on that, and offer some additional insight as someone who's worked with victims of human trafficking. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I'm a licensed therapist, and I'll put her down there in the caption. It's Taylor Victoria. But I agree with what she is saying. But to take it a step further in working with victims of human trafficking, sorry, the bird is, I don't know, they just go berserk. It's a woodpecker, I think. But anyhow, when a lot of victims are set up, female victims are set up for human trafficking, a lot of them are set up by their girlfriends, and girlfriends who know that, they're down and out, they're destitute, they need money, they need their bills paid, they're about to get evicted, and their girlfriends know. And so they mention this to their girlfriends, and their girlfriends are like, hey girl, I know how we can get some money. And the way that their girlfriends will frame it, they will put it in a way that makes it seem like you're not really doing anything. One of the more common things that I have heard are girls that say, let's, we can make a lot of money. We can go over to this dude's house. It's going to be a party. All we have to do is dance for a couple of hours, and then we're out of there, and we've made all this money. Do not fall for it. This is a common scam that a lot of women put on each other, because what tends to happen is, they'll go over to some dude's house and make some money. Next thing you know, they're being held at point, and they're being forced to, they're basically essentially being prostituted out, and they're being held against their will. They're not allowed to leave. And that girlfriend is like a recruiter, a trainee, if you will. So her job is to go out for this guy and recruit women and sell them a story, get somebody to come back here, and now you're in a place, and you're in a motel, usually it's a motel, and you can't leave, but usually they're sold a dream by a girlfriend, and it's not necessarily someone. Sometimes it can be a best friend, but a lot of times it's like a girl that they have, that they've met a few times, or that they've gone out with a few times, or that they met through so and so. And again, this is a very common story, and it's common across cultures. I've worked with a lot of different cultures and ethnic people, so Mexican, Black, White, Russian, Chinese, you name it. It's a very similar line, and the more diabolical setups are usually by mothers or other women in the family who you've been left in their care. So mothers do this to their daughters. I've seen that, especially when mothers have a debt, usually a drug debt, that they can't pay or they don't want to pay. And they offer up their daughter and say, do with her what you will. I don't care. They may offer up all their children and say, do with them what you will, because I'm not paying for it. Don't ever think you can tell who will do this by the way that they look either, because I think this is also a very common theme that's going on in social media too. I think a lot of young girls or women are being hoodwinked on social media. You guys are being sold a dream on a lot of stuff about how, all you really have to do is this, or you don't really have to do anything, and people will pay for your home. They will drop thousands of dollars and things like that. You guys are being sold a dream, and this is happening right under our noses in mass media. It is a scamming 101. What a lot of girls won't tell you that they're doing is they are selling themselves, they've made it look so elegant and so influencer, influence like, and they call that influencing, but it's not real. It's not what it's being sold to be. And a lot of people find this out the hard way because they follow these tips and things like that and try to do it, and they're not yielding the same results. You're not yielding the same results because these girls are selling it. These girls are sugaring. They're doing all kinds of stuff that you don't even know about. Even celebrities are doing this thing. If they're going over to other countries and doing some things, it's not because they're shooting some fabulous video. And I've seen this happen with male and female celebrities alike. And there's certain countries that are known for certain things. And so these people are going over, but they're selling a pipe dream. They're talking about, oh, I'm marrying into this, or I came over here, I'm making all this type of money. There's a little bit more to it. When stories start to sound familiar and people haven't put something out in a while or haven't had any decent line of work to support their lifestyle, they've got to sell it. Some people resort to coming on platforms like this and selling it, and I've done that. I've done a post on that. Excuse me, not I've done that, but I've done a post on that where I've talked about that in more depth. And you guys put me on to some celebrities that I didn't even know were doing it. But people are casually doing this, but they're lying about how they're acquiring their means, which is, I think, really immoral and unethical, because there's a lot of people out here right now that are really struggling. And they may buy into it because they're looking for some sort of hope, some sort of quick and fast and easy way to make money. And, usually quick and fast and easy ways to make money, they're not usually legal. And it's going to involve a lot more than just a little dance. And I'll add to that, women who set you up for stuff like this, who put it under the guise of doing a little party or having a little fun with a guy and his friends and things like that. You want to be careful, especially if you have nice things. If you're down and out destitute, you're between homes or things like that, and you don't really have much, that this might be a little bit different. But if you've acquired something and maybe you just found that you're in a pinch, these women will set you up to be backdoored, essentially be robbed and things like that. You want to be careful about that kind of stuff. This stuff is very real. And people will do it either in your home country, or they'll do it under the guise of, let's take a trip and go somewhere, out of the country and things like that. This stuff is happening, and it's very real. And it's very common, especially, with taking like cheap trips and things like that, like cruises and stuff like that. So this kind of stuff happens all the time. I've also done a post about how maritime law can be very tricky when it comes to people being unalived and things like that, as we've seen actually play out on national news, if you watch national news. But anyhow, I hope this helps, and I'm not trying to be dark, but I definitely want to keep people aware. Women can definitely set you up. I've seen it all the time. I talk to people almost daily now who this has happened to. So you want to be careful about what you consume and what you buy into on social media in terms of how people make their money and how easy something is. Don't ever, if it sounds too good to be true, it is. And unless you can see the real world behind the scenes of what goes on in somebody's life, you want to be careful about pedestalizing, lifestyle and how people make their money. And all they have to do is take some pretty pictures and things like that, even with celebrities. Hope that helps.